When someone goes silent, it's easy to focus on what you're not hearing, the absence of their voice, their messages, their energy. But what many people overlook is that silence itself is a form of communication. It speaks volumes, not in words, but in actions, or rather, in the lack thereof. When a person chooses not to respond, they are still making a decision. That decision carries meaning, whether intentional or not. It could reflect disinterest, emotional unavailability, fear of confrontation, or simply a lack of regard for how their silence might impact you. Either way, that gap in communication reveals more about where someone stands than their words might. This is especially critical when someone you were once emotionally connected to suddenly disappears. It can feel confusing, frustrating, even hurtful. But the key is to shift your mindset. Instead of focusing on what you didn't get, a message, a goodbye, an explanation, focus on what their inaction tells you. The absence of communication often shows you a person's inability or unwillingness to offer you the emotional safety and presence you deserve. That's not just a red flag. It's a mirror showing you exactly what your emotional reality would be like if you were to build something long-term with that person. There is an unfortunate tendency to romanticize the return of someone after a period of silence, as if their reaching out again somehow validates your worth or reestablishes the connection. But what's often missed is the bigger truth. Anyone who truly values a connection doesn't just vanish. People who care don't leave you in confusion. They communicate, even when it's hard. They offer clarity instead of leaving you guessing. Silence is rarely about not knowing what to say. It's more often about avoiding responsibility. When someone goes silent, it's important to resist filling in the gaps with your own hopeful narrative. The mind loves to create reasons, excuses, justifications. Maybe he's been really busy. Maybe he's dealing with personal stuff. While those things might be true, it doesn't erase the emotional consequence of being left without any clarity. You have to hold space for your own experience and recognize that your feelings are valid regardless of his circumstances. The emotional void someone leaves you with is information. Don't ignore it. Being emotionally available means being consistent, and silence is the opposite of consistency. It creates instability, uncertainty, and self-doubt. And in that doubt, you might find yourself questioning your own worth, wondering what you did wrong, or whether you should have said or done something differently. That cycle is dangerous because it makes you responsible for someone else's poor communication. So when silence happens, listen to it. It might not come with a neat explanation, but it does come with a message. Either this person cannot meet you where you are, or they chose not to. That's powerful insight. And it gives you the power to decide whether someone who disappears without explanation is worthy of a response when they finally do resurface. When someone reappears after a long silence, your initial reaction is often emotional. You might feel shocked, hopeful, confused, even excited. That tiny message, "Hey, what's up?" or a random emoji can trigger a whirlwind of thoughts and feelings. But what truly matters in that moment is not how quickly you respond or how much you miss them. What matters is your ability to pause, detach emotionally, and observe what's really going on. Reacting immediately often leads to decisions based on temporary emotion rather than long-term clarity. But when you take a breath and observe rather than react, you allow truth to reveal itself. Observation creates space for insight. It lets you examine the context. Why now? What is he saying? Does he seem genuinely engaged or just casually checking in? Is this a sign of emotional growth or just another loop of inconsistency? When you observe carefully, you become more grounded in reality rather than fantasy. The mind is great at romanticizing the past, especially during silence. It fills in the blanks with hope. But hope, while beautiful, isn't the same as truth. Truth comes from patterns, and patterns don't lie. Reacting quickly might feel like the right thing in the moment. You think, I've waited so long for this message, I don't want to ruin the chance. But that urgency often comes from fear. Fear of losing someone who already left, fear of never getting closure, or fear of confrontation. These fears cloud judgment. And when you operate from fear, you tend to minimize your own needs and justify poor behavior. That's why observation is essential. It gives you time to shift your emotional energy inward, asking yourself, how did his silence make me feel? What do I truly want now? Do I even feel safe emotionally reconnecting with him? In observation, you also learn to listen, not just to what someone says, but how they say it. A genuine reconnection often comes with vulnerability, but a hollow check-in lacks depth. If his return is vague, avoidant, or surface level, it tells you he may not be emotionally prepared for anything meaningful, and you deserve meaning, not breadcrumbs. Observing helps you identify whether this is a pattern or an intentional shift. Is this a one-time message or the beginning of real communication? People often treat silence like a reset button, as if they can return and pick up where they left off. But for you, this isn't about rewinding, it's about awareness. You're not who you were when they left. You've sat in the discomfort, questioned yourself, grown through the absence, and now you get to decide from a new place of emotional clarity. That's the beauty of observation. It reconnects you to your intuition. So when he reaches out, remind yourself that just because someone knocks doesn't mean you have to open the door. Stand in that doorway with self-respect, with curiosity, and with calm awareness. Because observing before reacting isn't cold, it's wisdom. It shows you're no longer someone who begs for attention. You're someone who's learned to protect your energy and choose connection with care. When someone reappears after going silent, you're not obligated to sweep everything under the rug and pretend nothing happened. In fact, one of the most powerful things you can do is to ask direct, respectful questions, not from a place of anger or punishment, but from a place of clarity and self-worth. You have every right to understand what motivated their silence and what inspired their return. By asking the right questions, you gain insight into their mindset, and more importantly, into whether their actions now align with the standards you've set for yourself. Too often people avoid asking these questions because they fear being perceived as needy or too much. But asking for clarity doesn't make you needy. It makes you strong. It shows you value open communication. It shows you're not just here to entertain someone's inconsistent behavior. A simple, calm question like, "What made you reach out now?" invites honesty. The way a person responds to direct questions reveals a lot. Do they take responsibility for their silence? Do they offer a thoughtful explanation? Or do they deflect, get defensive, or try to charm their way past it? You'll notice the difference instantly. If they respect you, they'll respect your need for understanding. If they don't, they'll try to sidestep it, hoping the excitement of reconnection will overshadow the discomfort of truth. It's not about interrogating someone or trying to control their answers. It's about observing whether they are capable of emotional accountability. Someone who is truly invested will be willing to talk about uncomfortable things. They'll acknowledge the distance, the timing, and the impact it may have had on you. They won't just show up with a casual text and expect to be let back into your heart without question. These questions also serve you. They help you connect with your own emotional boundaries. They remind you that your time and energy are valuable. When you ask, "What changed?" or "What are you hoping for now?" you're not just gathering information. You're asserting your self-worth. You're saying, "I'm not just here to fill a gap in your loneliness. I need to know that your presence now has purpose." Being respectful doesn't mean being passive. You can maintain warmth and curiosity while still protecting your peace. This balance is powerful. It keeps the door open for real connection if it's possible, but also filters out anyone who's only here for attention or comfort without real effort. Don't underestimate the value of your questions. They are not demands, they are invitations. Invitations for someone to meet you with truth, presence, and consistency. And if they can't do that, then their silence spoke louder than any words could. In choosing to ask, you give yourself the clarity that their disappearance once denied you. That's not only strong, it's transformative. When someone reaches out after a long period of silence, it can feel like a breakthrough moment. That message, seemingly out of nowhere, can stir emotions and hope that maybe this is the turning point. Maybe now things will finally move forward. But here's the reality. Contact does not equal commitment. A message is just that, a message. It doesn't guarantee consistency, emotional availability, or genuine intent. And one of the most common mistakes people make in this situation is assigning too much meaning to a moment of contact that may not be backed by action. It's human nature to want to believe in the best case scenario. You wait, you hope, you replay past conversations, and then he reaches out. Suddenly, all the waiting feels validated, but that single text or call shouldn't carry the weight of all the confusion and emotional labor you've endured. It's just a small piece of a much bigger puzzle. If someone truly wants to be in your life, they won't just show up once, they will show up consistently. They will follow up their words with meaningful actions. They will make you feel seen, safe, and chosen. You deserve someone who doesn't just remember you when they're bored, lonely, or seeking validation. You deserve someone who's present when it matters, not only when it's convenient. A person who disappears and then reappears without explanation isn't demonstrating commitment, they're demonstrating unpredictability. And love cannot thrive in uncertainty. One message doesn't erase the past, nor does it create a future. It's what comes after that message that reveals someone's true intentions. This is why it's so important to stay grounded in reality rather than fantasy. Fantasy wants to believe this is a sign of change. Reality asks, what is he showing me now? Not just telling me. Is he making plans? Is he asking real questions? Is he acknowledging his absence and showing up differently? Or is he keeping things vague, casual, and surface level? People who are not serious often breadcrumb, dropping small bits of attention here and there, just enough to keep you emotionally attached, but never offering the full presence you need to feel secure. This creates an illusion of progress without any actual commitment. It keeps you stuck in emotional limbo, always waiting for more. So when someone reaches out after going silent, pay attention to what happens next. Does the communication continue, deepen, and grow, or does it taper off again into more silence and confusion? Someone who truly wants to be in your life will show it through consistent effort, not occasional contact. They will offer clarity, not mixed signals. Contact is easy. It takes a few seconds to type and send a message. Commitment, on the other hand, takes intention, effort, and follow through. And if someone isn't showing you those things, don't fall into the trap of believing that their reappearance means they've suddenly become the partner you hoped they'd be. You deserve more than momentary attention. You deserve sustained care and devotion. Let their actions, not their momentary messages, prove their place in your life.